So, the topic of acquisitions has been very prevalent in the gaming industry lately. We've had some big studio pickups like Sony buying Insomniac, but Microsoft in particular has just been going crazy in that regard, especially with the mega purchase of Bethesda not too long ago. So myself and many others have been expecting to see these types of purchases ramp up as companies kind of react to each other. You know, you see one company buying studios, and that's probably going to make you more likely to pull the trigger on companies that you've perhaps been eyeing on. And late last night, it was announced that Nintendo is doing a little bit of acquisition, buying longtime partner Next Level Games. If you're unfamiliar, they're the ones responsible, I guess I would say, for Metroid Prime Federation Force. Whew. But I'll forgive them for that. And let's be honest, it's going to be Nintendo more so who commissioned them to make that type of game, I guess, with the Metroid name slapped on it. They've made much better stuff, especially most recently doing Luigi's Mansion 3, a game that I felt was a Game of the Year contender back in 2019 when it launched, as well as Dark Moon. They also did Punch-Out on the Wii, as well as a series I've talked about a few times recently on here, Super Mario Strikers. Now, I've seen a lot of people discussing how these guys have been pretty much working exclusively with Nintendo for a few years now, and if it really makes sense for Nintendo to buy them rather than just keep contracting them to make games as their relationship pretty much has been up until this point. I myself have talked a lot in videos about how that's what I'd like to see them do more of. My favorite example, which actually came true, was with Capcom and Monster Hunter. It's like, you know, you don't need to buy Capcom, I just would like you to get a new Monster Hunter game made specifically for the Switch. And that ended up happening. I think it's going to be very successful for both parties. And I've also discussed, obviously, I'd prefer less acquisitions in the industry in general. I think a lot of people, we'd love companies to just stay independent, get to make whatever games they want, but that, unfortunately, doesn't always make business sense. That's just a reality of the world. But yeah, in terms of if buying them makes sense, it also comes down to the negotiations in that, which we're not going to know much about. Like, I think them already being so tight-knit with Nintendo probably means Nintendo got a better deal for the studio. Buying them isn't really going to disrupt any of their operations, as again, they're already working pretty much just with Nintendo, so it's not like this is a big shakeup or anything. Also, they're obviously a smaller studio. This isn't going to be a massive purchase regardless. Like, if someone bought, you know, let's say a Capcom or Square Enix or something like that. So no matter what, it probably wasn't a huge sacrifice for Nintendo, especially considering the piles of cash they're sitting on right now. Also, like I said at the beginning, you've got a lot of other acquisitions going on right now. You don't want to risk the competition coming in and offering up a better deal. With Next Level Games' catalog, they'd be a great addition, I think, to anyone's portfolio, especially if you wanted to make the type of games that would compete with Nintendo games. So now you don't have to worry about that, as well as any other contractual work getting in the way. Like, now someone else can't get in and hire them to do something else when you wanted them to be working on a Nintendo game. They're locked down to make Nintendo games from now on. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Right now, if I ran Nintendo, I'd have them immediately start working on another Mario Strikers game. As I've said, I think the Nintendo sports games are just great. As someone who really can't stand sports sims, I love, you know, like Mario Tennis, golf and that, which also have been doing well. Mario Tennis Aces was very successful, and that's, you know, tennis, where I think soccer has a way bigger following just as a sport, which I think makes it more enticing to people. A nice thing too with them already working mostly with Nintendo, they probably got to work on their next Nintendo project after finishing Luigi's Mansion 3, so maybe we won't have to wait too long to find out what their next game is. So yeah, solid pickup in my opinion, but that also leads into discussion of what other studios may Nintendo be eyeing to also snatch up. I talked about this in my Doom Eternal for Nintendo Switch video that Panic Button would probably be right at the tip top of my personal list. Similarly, they're not some sort of massive juggernaut studio that's going to cost a stupid amount of money. and they've been best known lately for their Switch ports, which are just mind-blowing in my opinion. I mean, nobody works magic like they do on Nintendo Switch, which in my opinion would make them incredibly valuable to Nintendo. I'd just have them working non-stop on big Switch ports. And I think that's also a solid long-term investment because I think Nintendo will be going in this direction for a while, offering the Switch hybrid style systems. So you're going to want to lock in the people who are most competent in that arena, and nobody's better right now than Panic Button. But yeah, there's obviously tons of possibilities. They could go for a bigger purchase. They definitely have the money. I think they're content to do deals with the big players like they're doing with Capcom and Monster Hunter Rise 4 right now. But you never know. I mean, if another big studio gets bought, that means less people to do those types of deals with. So yeah, I mean, things are going to get interesting, especially if we see like another big third-party player get picked up by Sony or Microsoft. Like, these companies may start panicking a bit and not want to lose access to one of the bigger studios. But yeah, with that, this video's a wrap. Just kind of wanted to touch on that new acquisition real quick. Thought it was worth discussing. Let me know your thoughts on the purchase of Next Level Games in the comments. And of course, what studios would you like to see Nintendo buy next? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of Nintendo buying Next Level Games. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari. And join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.